Speaking of 250, we are also hearing often the headlines that often focus on what divides Americans. However, new research suggesting those divisions actually trace back to the nation's earliest colonial settlements, 400 years. So at the same time, the Declaration of Independence remaining one of the most powerful tools, one of the most powerful forces still uniting us, a gift from our founding fathers. So breaking this down this morning, the findings is Colin Woodard. He is the director of Nationhood Lab at Salve Regina University's Pell Center, as well as a New York Times bestselling author. Thanks, Colin, for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so a lot to get into. I was talking earlier, this is going to be a civics lesson or a discussion on engagement and history and all of it. So a lot of us need it, actually, by the way. But Colin, paint for us, what is your research? What did it uncover?
Yeah, well, first of all, that our divides go way back. I mean, back to the colonial period and the differences between the rival colonial projects that are in what's now the United States. I mean, think about how different the Puritans in New England were, a group of people who thought they'd been chosen by God to, have a mission and create a more perfect society, and they had to do it through shared institutions. How different that is from, say, the Chesapeake country that then spread into the eastern parts of North Carolina, where it was set up by the second, third, fourth sons of the great English, manor families of the countryside with their chateaus. The sons who weren't going to inherit the chateau and came to the New World to try to create their own Downton Abbey, to have their own, replication of an aristocratic society with, lords and peasants, or Greater Appalachia, which Charlotte's a part of, in that half of North Carolina, a region settled by people from the war-torn, borderlands of the British Isles, from the English Marches, the lowlands of Scotland and Northern Ireland, places where institutions were thin on the ground, where you had to protect your kith and kin yourself, and when government showed up, it was usually in the form of an army trying to kill you and your people. So it was individual freedom, and skeptical of the very institutions that say the Yankee Puritans would embrace without even thinking about it. So yeah, the divides go way back, and we see it reflected in all sorts of things today, from political results to life expectancy to gun violence rates, intergenerational mobility, and all sorts of things.
Oh, fascinating. And just region, it obviously divides folks, and we have those regional differences. But your polling found something like 97% agree on the core ideals of the Declaration of Independence. So what does that number tell us about where we stand today?
Yeah, the most important thing for us was figuring out, given these divisions, what holds us together and what's ever held us together. And yeah, we've polled extensively. It's the Declaration of Independence that holds us together, our mission statement as a people. And we indeed asked Americans, hey, do you agree with the proposition that we as Americans are duty-bound to protect one another's rights to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and so on? And it came back 97-2 in favor. I mean, you don't see 97-2 as an answer on anything in American life. If you ask Americans, is the earth round or flat? The Pew Research Center did at one point. It's 80-10 with 10% undecided. So 97-2 means that, yeah, we are almost subconsciously and universally as Americans believe that that's our mission, to try to create the society envisioned in the Declaration where humans can be equally, universally, and sustainably free over time. So we can work with that as a people.
And so why has that belief held up for this long, even during times when at times we feel divided or polarized?
Yeah, and at times when the Declaration was being challenged as well. I mean, we've had a turbulent history, but on some level, that idea of an American experiment, trying to create a world where after 5,000 years of despotism and civilization, that you would try to create a place where individuals could be free as possible, free over time, free from one generation to another. That was a revolutionary idea in 1776, and it's a hard thing to achieve, right? It's spread around the world, but we're still working at doing it. But on some intrinsic level, we as Americans have inherited that idea. That's our national idea. What sets us apart from other countries why the United States exists, if you will, and what defines, where we're supposed to be going and who belongs and what we're supposed to achieve. Every country needs those stories, and we as a federation of these different regional cultures especially need it, and I think that's why Americans, hold on to this set of ideas even in these turbulent times.
Colin, let's talk about this social capital index. What does that measure and what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a measure of how well our communities able to cooperate. And it's because individuals know each other, trust each other, form relationships that make it possible for them to do big things together, right? You have to trust each other to do a big project or change things. And so it's a measurement of how much horizontal connection is there between people, usually found in their, having met in churches and know each other from Rotary Club and bowling alleys. But there's enormous variation between the regional cultures in the amount of social capital there is. For instance, generally in Greater Appalachia, for the reasons I described, the skepticism in institutions, that somehow institutions will be captured to be a form of tyranny over you, that's meant that there's a lot less places for people to meet outside of family networks to build that kind of capital to get things done than there are in some other regions of the country. But better than, say, the Spanish legacy regions in the Southwest and South Florida, two very different cultures, but both of them sharing in a Spanish imperial legacy. And Spain did not encourage individuals to form clubs and civic associations and all those things, which happened in the English sphere. And that knock-on effect can still be seen today in very low social capital, even in a region that has, strong families and churches and stuff. But the social capital, the associations to create links across groups don't seem to exist.
And so that might explain why North Carolina is often the battleground state.
Well, you're divided between the Tidewater Chesapeake inherited zone and that Greater Appalachian zone. It's a state classically divided between those fissures, and you're not alone in that. But that means your politics are more raucous than they would be in a state that's entirely in one region like Maine or Vermont or Montana.
All right. So as we come up on the 250th anniversary then of the Declaration, what's our takeaway for Americans watching us right now?
Yeah, you can learn a lot about the polling, about the details, about what Americans believe in, about the battle over our national story, about the effects of these regional cultures, all at Nationhood Lab. You can get there at salve.edu, that's SALVE/Pell Center, PELL. And there's, more than you can possibly imagine if you want to dive deep in what this all means and the research that we've done on it.
Yeah, fascinating. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate the conversation.
Thanks so much for having me.